look like you're a willing volunteer. So tell us what you thought about. No? No way, she says. Anybody at this table? I have one. All right, thank you.
What works well for us is we have a high school on our college campus now, and next year we'll get a second charter high school.
And how is that? What makes that special?
Students automatically can align with CTE programs from high school and then have hands-on in our labs on the college campus for dual credit. So it's working really well.
Very cool. That's absolute alignment, right? To have them on the... Yeah, that's great. Thank you, guys. In the presentation, I put some ideas that our team came up with. One thing within the ELL world that actually Acela Paleo, who's a director of our bilingual bureau, has harped on and has been really pushing our high schools at work teachers toward, is recognizing that building basic literacy strategies is something that CTE teachers maybe haven't really been trained to do, but that can really help your English language learners and also your weak readers. A lot of the materials within CTE, the instructional manuals, you think of like those car computers, they're really complicated. And so CTE teachers can maybe use some of those elementary reading principles of scaffolding to help the kids learn to read the CTE manuals. That are I think the average is like at the 14th or 15th grade level. So they're written at a very high level, and kids need some literacy strategies in order to get through those manuals. Yes, ma'am. Oh, absolutely.
All right. Let's hear. Okay. Well, this program is primarily targeted towards low-skilled adults and ELL students, but IBES stands for Integrated Basic Education Skill and, come on, what's the T? Come on, help me out, people. Technical? It's a model out of Washington State where we pair a basic skills instructor who's usually bilingual with a career and technical education class, and these groups of students are getting assistance with their math and their reading and their writing, along with going through the career and technical education class, and most of the time we're setting them up with short-term credentials to get out into the workforce. So right now at our college we have a number of programs. One of them is community healthcare worker. It's 2 semesters, and we're seeing a lot of success, and schools, secondary schools all across the state are doing it through our Department of Labor TACT grant.
Great, thanks for sharing that. That's another example of why it's so important that our secondary and our post-secondary be in conversation, so that we can share these ideas and the good innovative stuff that's happening. Sorry that my thing didn't work right. This is another idea that Acela floated that I didn't hear in the share-outs that I wanted to kind of just get you all thinking about. Within bilingual education, there's a term called ambassador. And what that means, that's a student who is so versatile in their acquired language that they become a de facto translator for their classmates. And those of you who are in the classroom, you probably have these kids that are sitting there translating into Spanish for the kid who is not yet speaking strong enough English to completely follow what's going on in the classroom. Maybe you can consider a formalized ambassador program through avenues you may already have, such as giving kids credit as a teacher's aide, to recruit those high school students who are truly bilingual and use them as a resource. It's a way of helping them. It gives them really a job skill. and spread your resources a little bit, right? There's one less bilingual aid that you have to pay for. In the same vein, CTSO have service requirements, and National Honor Society have tutoring requirements. It's another place where you could get students who are bilingual to help build your literacy in your CTO classes. On the math side, students often, as you pointed out, they shut down when they hit math. And within CTSO, a lot of times if you can reframe the question in terms of money, all of a sudden it doesn't seem like math anymore. And many, if not most, of the CTE classes have some element that you can have kids bidding, you can have them figuring out budgets, you can reframe math questions as money questions and make them more accessible. You can ask your teachers to look for opportunities to do algebra. For example, instead of just doubling a recipe, you can ask for them to, you can triple it and not solve for part of it and do it more as a solve for X kind of problem. And then use that academic language so that the students start to make those connections. And the example that I put up here is the Pythagorean theorem. It's a good mathematical, jargony kind of thing that shows up in construction industries. That's what you have to have in order to figure out the slopes of the roofs. It's the Pythagorean theorem, right? But somehow if we put that Pythagorean theorem, kids shut down. So let's do that proactively so that they feel more confident when they face the mathematical jargon on the diagnostic tests. So those are some of the ideas that we came up with. I hope you all will kind of just keep brainstorming with each other and with your teams, because that's a huge part of what we're trying to do in Perkins, is come up with creative solutions, some of which require money, some of which don't. How can we make money go as far as possible? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a comment. Part of what you addressed with bilingual students. The Canadians did a lot of studies dating back to 30 years ago. And what they refer to it as BISC and CALP. It's the language proficiency that students acquire in terms of communication is quite different from the cognitive academic level of proficiency. So even sometimes when a student reaches a level of performance in terms of a language, in terms of the surface structures, they still have difficulty in understanding because the cognitive has not actually developed. So if you look at Cummings, those are the Canadians that did some of those studies back 30 years ago.
Thank you for sharing that. And then one thing that there's been some national conversation about is actually delaying entry into CTE. And I just put this up here as kind of a conversation opener for you to think about. It's not something that we are advocating within PED, but it's just a conversation that we're in. And Eric and I have just looked at a little bit of data. The data we've looked at so far don't support one way or the other, but it's something to think about. What happens if you don't let kids go into CTE until 11th grade, for example? Does that give them an opportunity to develop more of those core academic skills before they start their program of study? Or do you end up losing kids because the engagement drops off so much? And so should you maybe even push CTE heavier in 9th grade? This is a conversation that we're having, that we're thinking about. We know some schools have a push one way or the other. So if you feel like your school is really doing one or the other of those, and you'll let us know, we'll try to take a close look at your data in comparison with other data and see if we can start getting some indications of within our state if it makes a difference starting earlier or starting later. Or maybe it makes a difference programmatically. Maybe kids who are going to the healthcare fields can wait till 11th grade, but kids who are going into construction, you'd be better off starting them in 9th grade. These are conversations that we want to have and that we want to try to be able to look at our data and get some guidance on programmatically.